All right, Broncos country, what is going on? Hope you guys are having a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. I'm joined here by my friends Mark of Marky Sports and Jeremy Auten. Thank you guys again for joining weekly to talk about everything that's been going on with the Broncos. Obviously, yesterday, ugly showing. But today we're going to take some time to dissect what went wrong, what we need to correct in order to go out on Thursday night. Thankfully, this is only 3 days away, where we got a chance to rebound it against the Saints. But I'll start with you, Mark. You know, what were your just initial impressions from that game yesterday?
Yeah, no, appreciate you guys having me, man. Always fun doing this with the fellas. Obviously a tough game, brutal, ugly in every way. Probably the worst half of football, not just of the season. Talk about the first half of this past game versus the Chargers, but really that I've seen in a long time. But happy that the team showed a little bit of fight and resolve at the end. I think really what went wrong, man, is kind of the same stuff that just seems to be plaguing us at random times throughout the season, right? It's just zero rhythm at all. Way too many self-inflicted wounds, whether it be, pre-snap penalties, penalties in general, post-snap holding calls,
Mhm.
fumbles at the worst time, batted balls, turnovers. It was just a really, really bad mix of everything that you could do in a first half. And then obviously on the defensive side of the ball, it was like we couldn't get off the field on third downs. We couldn't turn the ball over. So when that happens, you're gonna be down 20-0 at half, and you're gonna get your ass kicked. So that's basically what happened.
Oh, Jeremy, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? It kind of almost felt like we walked into this game overlooking the Chargers or something because everybody seemed to have their mind elsewhere. It was pretty telling in the locker room afterwards where they said that once PS2 went down, it kind of shell shocked the defense for a half until they were able to regroup, and it felt like that. It felt like they didn't have the confidence on third down to just man up and just say, all right, well, we got you one-on-one, beat us. They went into zones. I think Vance Joseph, I think that came from the leadership up top. I think Vance Joseph kind of was like, oh, crap. And he altered some stuff. And then when you're getting the play calls in that you're not used to, now you're going like, oh, do we have to alter it that much? And it just trickled down. And it was just such a frustrating game. You want to establish the run, but I just feel like you need to script plays out of the, to start the game, the first 15 or whatever, like Mike Shannon used to do and a bunch of other coaches do, because it just felt like two runs right in the middle and then a long pass to Mims, who doesn't run the digs. And if he throws that to Cortland, that's getting caught, but of course it's going to Mims, who's shorter, tip ball right to the guy. It's just, here we go. So
Mims was on that interception. I couldn't remember who it was intended to
Mims.
hit him in the hands.
Yeah,
I know it wasn't the most accurate, but man, it drove me crazy.
It was a little high, I guess, but it's also, you don't have the chemistry of Mims running those, in the game. So he might have run it a yard shallow or 2 yards shallow too. So we just don't know. And, that's a play that I don't like, big long plays like that out of the gate for his first throw. Almost like a rookie quarterback, just let him get a good completion, an easy one, and then let's go. You can script that. And it just felt like, now it was so disjointed that first half where we couldn't stop them. They would get such long drives, and it actually ended up putting more pressure on the offense to like move the chains, and they couldn't do it. I liked the fight, obviously, in the fourth quarter. People are going to call those like empty calories, like yards, because they think it's like a soft zone. I went back and watched it. They were not playing prevent, but they definitely weren't blitzing as much. But it's good news to see, the thing is, this is all about perspective this whole season. We have to keep saying it over and over and over and just drive it into our heads. The season is not about, it would be awesome to make the playoffs, and it would be awesome to contend at all. But going into this game, everybody picked us to win 5 games. And that's the team, that's the roster we have. So let's just, I think it's better than 5 games, obviously, but you get to 3-2 and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's wide open for us. And it is, but you got 70 million sitting on the bench in Pittsburgh, and you got your other highest paid guy sitting on the other bench, with a headache, and it's going to be tough. And we fought hard, and I think it showed a lot. I think it gave some of the young guys a lot of confidence. I like seeing Vele and Franklin in those clutch situations.
Yeah.
And so I think there's good to take from it. It just felt bad for so long that it was hard.
Yeah, there's a lot that I want to comment on here. It was great to see a few of the bright spots, seeing Vele and Troy Franklin, get some targets, have some productivity, see Troy Franklin get his first touchdown. That was awesome. And it's nice to see somebody with some speed, developing a little bit of confidence with the offense and the play calling. Cause it's been a year and six games now. And I feel like we've seen maybe 2 games out of Marvin Mims that I've been like really, really happy with. It's just been frustrating. I don't know if at this point I just feel like he's not really that great of a fit for whatever reason. The staff and offensive play callers drafted him. It just doesn't seem to be working out, and I can't really explain why. But yeah, like that's interesting that you bring up, Jeremy, about the zone stuff on defense, because when I saw Pat Surtain go down, I wasn't really concerned at the beginning, like when that happened, because I thought, dude, like most year about this, but I was like, man, we got 2 other like really good cover guys in Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillan. Like, let's just go to work. Like this defense can get it together. And that's interesting that you pointed that out, because it just seemed like guys were wide open down the field for Herbert, even on those 3rd and longs. And I just don't know if we were ready for them they really stretched us, especially in the run game, from kind of sideline to sideline. And I haven't watched too much of the Chargers this year, but I think that was something our defense just didn't come out looking ready for that. And it was just shocking to see how bad we were on 3rd down when we hadn't seen that throughout the season so far. Mark, Jeremy, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I felt like,
I think, Go ahead,
Mark.
Oh yeah, sorry. I think there's a little bit of a delay. My bad. I was gonna say, for me, it feels like they kind of did to us what we did to Tampa when we played them.
Yeah.
Right. We kind of caught them by surprise by spreading the ball out early and allowing for the pass game to, set up the run. And I feel like we can really take a piece of that playbook of what we could do, because we might not have very good skill position players, but I can assure you, in my opinion, they're a lot better than what the Chargers have. But the way that the Chargers utilize that, and just put everybody in a position to do what they do well, and it's effective. And so I think we can do a lot of that. But I'm hoping to be able to see more of that moving forward, in the sense of spread defenses out and force them to cover you early, because when they know that you're going to run the ball, it's kind of a wrap. So it's a really good point that you brought up in terms of kind of what the Chargers did, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like, again, it goes back to that Mike Tyson cliche. It's like everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and the punch in the mouth was PS2 going down. And I just think they panicked a little bit. I think Vance Joseph panicked a little bit. Maybe he just adjusted, and the guys didn't take it well. They weren't ready for the adjustments. And I'm not going to say we overlooked San Diego, LA. It's always going to be in my head. But with the Saints coming, it's a short week to prepare for the Saints. I just wonder if he started peeking, and it's a big game for him personally, if he started peeking into that next game and kind of took his eye off the ball a little bit, because he knows he's not going to get the practices, he's not going to get the reps, he's not going to get, and it's Carmichael, it's the whole staff. It's big for all of them. Yeah. So the game was weird too, that, Harbaugh goes out with like an illness, with an arrhythmia, I guess it was. It just was weird all over the place. I joked in our chat on texting that kind of felt like there were so many injuries that first quarter or two. Felt like it was a continuation of that Buffs game where everybody just was like going off every play. It's like, what the heck is going on?
On both sides.
Just something,
both teams,
something in the aura of Denver Boulder area in that 24-hour period. But it just feels
it's Carmelo
like
Anthony. That's who I'm blaming.
Oh, you're right. It's totally.
When I found
out that he went to the Broncos game, I was like, shit, man, we need to get this guy here, dude. I was like, damn. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, the old Mellow curse.
Yep.
It's just, yeah. I mean, here's the thing: the NFL, you're gonna win some you shouldn't, like maybe the Jets, and you're gonna lose some you feel like you should have won. That's just every season, every year. You know, we go through the schedule before the season starts and go, that's a win, that's a loss. It's like, no, that's so such a fool's errand, because it's just you can't do that. You're gonna beat somebody, you're like, oh my gosh, I chalked that up to a loss and it was a win. And then we lose to somebody, you're like, oh, that's embarrassing, we lost that game. So I'm going to chalk this up to a learning experience. This is a tough season. You know, this is a rebuilding season. We just got to keep that in perspective. If we make the playoffs, that's gravy. But, you know, Bo Nix showed a lot. I think Sean Payton's learning Bo Nix. I think Sean Payton needs to unleash the reins a little bit, because it was all fun and games when he won the game, calling him Ferris Bueller and saying we got to get that out of him, where he's like altering things. But it's like, yeah, he needs to be able to alter things. Like, I know that's funny. That's a funny soundbite. But like, if you have a play called and they have the right defense for that, and you can change it to a play that's going to be open, you should do that. Like, don't be like, oh, I can't change. I don't have the ability to change the play, or else I'm Ferris Bueller. No, you need to be able to change the play. So hopefully, like, you know, that gets sorted. These are embarrassing losses, especially when you put up those numbers at halftime and you have to go back to the locker room and it's just, there's nothing good to feel. But yeah, Atomic has a good point. Javonte Williams, I mean, I'm pretty much done. Like, when you start turning into Melvin Gordon and you don't have the vision, like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? You looked good. You had vision. You ran hard for the last 2 weeks, and then it just turned back into like Javonte week 1 and 2 again. And man, that's tough. And then the drop on the screen pass when we totally had to have it. That's just like the ones where you're just like, you can't drop those. You can't do it.
I know it's been disappointing to see him in a contract year just revert back to this again after having like the last 3 games, I think, of really being solid. And I don't know what to make of Audric Estime yet. We'll just have to see. But I love how Atomic is bringing up this point. It's like, man, if we could get Ashton Janty or somebody like that, man, just a dynamic ball carrier out there, a dynamic. I was talking about this yesterday. A dynamic pass catcher, man. Like, Bo Nix he's not Jalen Hurts in terms of inaccuracy, right? Like, I believe once Bo settles in, he'll be much more accurate than kind of the dips and highs we've seen so far. But you know what the Eagles did when they made Jalen Hurts their starter? They went and got freaking A.J. Brown, man. They went and got a huge target that can haul in anything, huge catch radius, big body, somebody that's got speed and all of that. And it would just, again, we all know that this is something that we hope for them to address in the offseason, like as priority number 1. But we're asking all these guys in the receiver room and whatnot to play roles higher, I think, than where they kind of slot in on a really good NFL team, right? And rookie quarterback that's not in rhythm, that's not having a good day. It's a recipe for something like this. So I do kind of wonder. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, Mark, as we talk a little bit about how do we bounce back? How do we rebound do you almost kind of take an opposite approach in trying to establish the pass game first, making that a priority to get Bo Nix in rhythm, uh, um, both and letting kind of the run game get predicated off of that against New Orleans?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of have to, because that's kind of the team that we are, and I think that's also how defenses are game planning against us, right? They come in here and they say, completely eliminate the run. If Bo Nix is the leading rusher for the Broncos, you're going to win.
Mhm.
And so, because every time that happens, it seems like we've lost. So, we've got to be able to set that tone and control the narrative and say, let's spread these guys out, and let's get easy completions, get a rhythm going, and get everybody kind of in the feel of the flow of the game. Because we talked a lot about I'd love to see more tempo and more 2 minute and no huddle offense, but it's hard to do that when you can't even get a first down, right? So um, by being able to do that and get everybody into rhythm, I think it's just a really positive trickle down effect. Um, and so I think that would be the way that I would look at being able to bounce back. New Orleans is a very beat up team right now. They're vulnerable, especially defensively. Tampa really shredded them. Not saying that we're going to put 30 on them, but there's a lot of points and a lot of yards to be had against this team. And so we just got to be able to go out there and do that. And I think that should be our identity until we can show that we can consistently run the ball. But one real quick note. Um, I heard Sean Payton talk about it in the post game yesterday, and he talked about it today again in the conference call. And I really believe he actually meant this because it was just a certain type of conviction in his voice. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. I think he's really genuinely at the point where he's just like, we've got to start playing Vele more, Franklin more, and Audric Estime more. He came out and said, he's like, we just have to see. I'm excited to see what these guys do. We have to see because you're at a point now where, you know, Lil Jordan Humphrey's the second most snaps on this team in terms of from the wide receiver position. I understand why, in a sense of like schematically what they're trying to do, but it makes no sense because
No.
it's not working anyways. So get somebody else involved and see what the hell they can do. And so I think it starts really this week in New Orleans. I think you're going to see, and Vele did outsnap Lil Jordan Humphrey in this last game, but a lot of it I think was because of the late game stuff. But I would like to see that trend continue. I'd like to see, Estimate get more than 2 snaps like he got this past week.
Yeah.
But for the love of God, can we see Blake Watson? Can we see something? But I'm not going to be that horse again. And until it happens, I should just make a promise to myself. I'm never going to think about it. But yeah, I think we just need to really, start to spread things out, go empty or go pistol, and start games off that way. Because I think it's a really good thing for a young team, and especially for Bo to get into a rhythm as well.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, Jeremy? How do you get a different offensive performance on Thursday?
Yeah, I think, this could be a blessing in disguise, this kind of loss. Because you're with a young team like this, the biggest thing for them is how do you deal with success sometimes? And you won 3 games in a row. You're starting to feel yourself. You're starting to feel good. Everybody's talking about, oh, you just put up 34 unanswered points on the Raiders. You got over that hump. You broke that streak. You look so good in the new uniforms. Everything's positive, right? And then all of a sudden you get punched. And so how do you deal with success? And this might be one of those things. I'm glad, like you said, it sucks as far as a short week with the PS2 situation, although that might be a blessing in disguise as well with a concussion. You don't want to rush those. But you can get them back out there. And like Mark said, this is all investing in the future. This is what the season is. The season is not about we are trying to make a run at the Super Bowl. We are trying to figure out and take stock in what we have. And Troy Franklin and Vele and those guys are the people that are going to be on the team in the future. And those are the guys we need to get up to speed. Maybe the Josh Reynolds injury is also another blessing in disguise. Going back to what Atomic was saying about Courtland Sutton, and I totally agree, he doesn't look open. And when you're a rookie quarterback, it's hard to just throw the ball to a guy who's completely covered hoping he's just going to outjump him. And here's the thing, he probably will. Like, Cortland is an elite 50-50 ball guy, but he is not an elite separator at this point of his career. So it's hard to just keep throwing those if you're Bo Nix, because everybody freaks out over every little interception or every little tipped or anything like that. So it's like, I don't want, if I'm Bo Nix, I don't trust throwing it to a completely covered guy and just going, okay, hopefully he wins. And he did. He does. He did that for Russ time and time last year, and it made Russ's numbers look good, even though we all saw what he was actually doing. We have to just go to the future, and I think these pains can pay big dividends next year. Like Franklin, you could just tell he was so excited to get that touchdown and get the monkey off his back from last week of dropping that one. And Vele's every time Vele plays, he kind of looks like the best receiver. Like, at least he's catching the ball. I think he had one drop where he was coming back to the ball. It was a little bit tough. It was a little higher, but besides that, the guy's pretty solid for a rookie. I mean, he's older, but still. The thing with those, the receivers is just, they're not, like Tomic was going back to about Cortland Sutton, but this goes for the whole receiving crew, especially tight ends and everybody. Nobody's getting separation. Nobody. And that's so hard for a rookie quarterback to not have a run game. Nobody has vision in the run game. And then when you go back to throw it, nobody looks open because nobody's getting separation. And then the people are like, oh, well, Bo Nix isn't playing well. It's like, he accounted for 90% of the offense yesterday. What are we expecting him to do? The defense is giving up 20-play drives. We can't run the ball. Nobody's getting separation. And then people are like, well, Bo, you still should have overcome all of that and won anyways. And it looked for a while in that fourth quarter like he kind of did overcome a lot of that. But when Lucas Kroll is averaging the most separation on your team, you don't have people separating, period. That's kind of embarrassing. So, this should light a fire. Hopefully it does. Because, little Jordan Humphrey's a 5. Let's be honest. Jordan Humphrey is a 5.
At best.
He's not even an NFL receiver, to be honest with you.
If you're not running the ball, if he's not helping with that, I just find it to be kind of his role to be a little irrelevant. But again, kind of going on the young guys, man. Even though Vele's 26, first year in the NFL, I've been happy with him. I see this a lot from Broncos country, so I'm not picking on you specifically, Octavio, but I hear people say, Troy Franklin's been disappointing. I just felt like him coming in as a young 21-year-old or youngest guy in the NFL, I think, in this year's draft, and him falling to day 3. I know he was a high 4th round pick, but a lot of people saw him as a project that was going to be a couple years away. I know Mims went off in week 2 last year, his rookie year, but I feel like I'm seeing better stuff from Troy Franklin out the gate than what I saw collectively from Mims all of last year. And I do like the fact that not only Troy Franklin has speed, but he also has size. I think, what is he, 6'2", 6'3", something like that. And I think my frustration with Mims has been the dude just doesn't have a catch radius, and that really can plague you downfield if he truly isn't Tyreek Hill. He's just not burning past. He's just not. So I want to continue to see these guys get more involved. I wouldn't mind just seeing some tempo or spread stuff to just get Bo in a rhythm. I think when we fail to do that, the one game where I felt like we had a great offensive start, it was a priority to get him in a rhythm early. And most of the other games, I feel like we've waited on that, and that's why it's been kind of ugly.
Nailed it. You nailed it on the head. And in terms of the Mims thing, I think a lot of it too is draw a place to get him open. You can't just keep setting him deep all the time. Defenses are going to start knowing that. Utilize him like the Chiefs utilize a lot of their, Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice. I'm not saying he's that good, but just they simplify. They just say this is the route you're going to run, and you're going to get really damn good at running it. Because he's somebody that you're better off getting the ball in his hands in space if it's a 5-yard throw, but he's got room to run, rather than some sort of a deep shot. Because he's a punt returner by trade. So get the ball in his hands and let him figure it out. Put him in the backfield. That 2-point conversion play where they gave it to him. Okay, yeah, I got stuffed, but I'm like, why aren't you showing that earlier in the game? Maybe then you can fake it out, or maybe you can it's just like all of a sudden you do it. It's obvious to get given to him. So I just think that they're not doing these young players a lot of favors either. So they can be better at that collectively.
Let's talk a little bit about the defense, if that's okay, guys. Unless you guys got other offensive points you wanted to bring up, but not facing Derek Carr this week. I think we'll get Spencer Rattler. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to kind of look at that game on Sunday, but I thought he showed some flashes, and I'm excited to go up against him because he is one of my more favorite quarterbacks in the draft. Did not think that he should go first round like where all these other guys went, but I really do like a lot to his game. But how do you see this defense performing on Thursday? What do you think we'll do? Who do we need to account for? All that.
Well, I think Jeremy, that there's one guy and there's one guy only.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, sorry. I think there's one guy and one guy only. Well, not one guy only, but you have to make this the absolute 100% priority, and that's obviously Alvin Kamara. As a runner and as a receiver, he's the guy that can absolutely gut you and beat you, in a second. Rashid Shaheed's a really impressive player. I think they're going to be without Chris Olave as well. So that's kind of a little bit of a bounce out from, us not having PS2. But, I think you eliminate, you need to go in here and say, we're going to do whatever it takes to stop the run game, to not give this young quarterback, rookie quarterback, Spencer Rattler, a weapon like Kamara. It'll make his life very, very difficult. And so, to me, that's the game plan, in a nutshell, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's Seattle, what they did to Bo Nix in week 1. Let's do that. Let's confuse. Right now, Spencer Rattler is in the one read. If it's not open, I'm going to turn and go kind of mode. And we need to, like you said, Mark, stop the run first of all, because if they can establish the run, it makes everything so much easier, which is what we're not seeing on our team. It's so hard. Everything's hard because of that. But yeah, if you stop the run and then you can throw some, exotic looks at Spencer Rattler, you can maybe come back with a couple picks here or a couple bad decisions. He's not like the most mobile guy. And he's got a good arm, but again, he's going to be swimming right now. And where was that game at?
It was in New Orleans.
The Tampa Bay one yesterday.
I think they played in New Orleans.
It was in New Orleans. Yeah.
Oh, it was in New Orleans. Okay. I just didn't know if he was going to be at home for the first time or not. Okay, so I mean, yeah, we just need to try to confuse him. Our defense needs to set the tone. I don't know much about the Saints defense. Like, let me get your thoughts on what is the best way to attack their defense, because Tampa Bay put 51 up on them. So I'm not too worried. I know there was a scoop and score in there somewhere, but still.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield had it was either 5 touchdowns and 4 picks or 4 touchdowns and 3 picks. And they still put up over 50 points. I can't remember if the defense had a score or not, but I do feel like this is a vulnerable defense. We don't have the weapons Tampa Bay has, no doubt about it. And I think one thing that's really made a difference on their team has been Bucky Irving, especially with Rashad White banged up. Oh man, Bucky Irving's so dynamic out of the backfield, and they got a bunch of big guys to throw to. I think Mike Evans might have left that game. I was kind of just watching it piece by piece yesterday. So I can't really speak to any of the specifics with what they did, but I think that again, I'm just hoping that our defense can lead the charge to this victory. I think that's been the big theme in the victories that we've had, and then it's allowed to kind of take some pressure off of our offense and allowing them to cook. But I think we're going to have to lean on our defense for this one. I would imagine they're going to have a little bit better of a performance against our offense compared to the Bucs.
Yeah. Here's a point that I haven't heard anybody else make. Like, the Chargers defense is top 5. And those first 4 games that Bo played were against really good defenses. The one game that we didn't face a great defense, that's the game that Bo had a huge day against the Raiders. So that's another thing to keep in perspective when it's like, oh, that Chargers game felt so bad and Bo didn't. That's a really good defense. I mean,
yeah, they're playing better right now than the Steelers are by a lot of metrics. So it's kind of them 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah. And I mean, so like, it's tough. It's hard. People freak out over every little thing. It's such, we live in such a culture of instant gratification. And if somebody doesn't look good the first minute, or if somebody struggles at all, it's total panic, jumping off a cliff, which is absolutely ridiculous. And here's the thing, whatever I think, whatever anybody's opinion is of Bo Nix, Sean Payton's the one that loves him. He's keeping him. Settle in. Like, let's not, you can panic all you want. He's not going anywhere. If he loves him, and this is hopefully a long-term thing. So let's give him some slack. And it's nice to start to play some teams that the defenses aren't so imposing. But I mean, maybe again, that's another thing that maybe down the line we're looking at it like, wow, it was good for Bo to face some of the best defenses in the entire league to start it out, because now it seems easy. It's like, it's like the batter who puts like the extra weight on his bat and then swings it a few times before he goes up to the plate. Now the bat feels super, super light, so we got 2 games coming up, Saints, Panthers. Those are very winnable games. Let's see what we can do now. I think this will, as bad as that felt yesterday and today, we get a win on Thursday, we're all going to start to feel a lot better. And we win. And if we can follow that up with a win against the Panthers, now we're going to start feeling great. So, it's just a long season. There's going to be ups and downs. This was a down. There was a lot of reasons for it. It was a really, really weird game. But I'm glad we're not facing Derek Carr, because he seems to always have our number. So
yeah,
I don't know what it is about that guy.
I know he always looks amazing. Him and Josh Jacobs. This is a good point, Atomic. It's strange for me to be envious of the Chicago Bears, but even though the Chicago Bears feel like they have a terrible offensive line, they've done a great job of giving Caleb Williams a tremendous amount of different weapons and targets that should make a difference at the running back position and at the wide receiver position. And I'd probably take Cole Kmet over everybody that we got.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that
right now.
Cole Kmet's a stud. No, he's a great player.
Yeah. And I do believe that, Bo, as he continues to improve, I think he can become a player like that one day that helps bring the best out of people, that we've seen with like really good quarterback play. But you can't expect that right now from a first-year starting quarterback in their first year. And this is just kind of the ups and downs that we were talking about coming into the season that you're going to experience. And hopefully, like you guys said, you see some improvement over time, having gone through the fire of facing a lot of our best defenses earlier on in the season. So, you're right, dude. They're wide receiver 3. I would take Keenan Allen, over everybody.
Yeah,
so,
Big time.
One last thing real
ahead.
quick on that comment about there were so many mistakes. One thing that was so such a killer to that game yesterday were the untimely penalties.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, my God, how, like, that 50-yard throw to Sutton across, like, that dig that we hit finally to get us going, and then it just gets pulled back. I mean, when you have a rookie quarterback, you have to help him. The running backs need to help him. The offensive line needs to help him. And they're hurting. They're finally, when he gets something going, it just seems like there's something else to, like, oh, wait, nope, it's coming back. And it's just like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Time to drop the ball. Time to fumble the ball when we get something going there. Like the anti-clutch gene that specifically this running back core this year has had.
Unbelievable.
Infuriating, man. Hopefully we can see some of these young guys ball out, and Blake Watson, A.T. Perry, and hell, even Donald Parham get a shot. I just want to see some of these taller, bigger, athletic, speedier guys get a chance in this offense at some point, and hopefully it starts on Thursday with having some success. So, guys, thank you so much again for your time. Any last or closing thoughts on this Saints game? Mark, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super happy there's a quick turnaround. I think it's always better to go into a game like this coming off a loss that kind of refocuses the team. The Saints had 17 guys that were DNPs on their estimated practice report today. It looks like Rashid Shaheed might not even play this one. Absolutely 100% a game that we should win. But, I'll leave all the listeners and everybody watch this with final thoughts. The Broncos probably have 10 to 12 guys offensively with everyone that's playing, rotationally, that are a problem. But I can tell you that Bo Nix is absolutely not one of them. Without a doubt in my mind. Watching it time and time again, when you put the all 22 on, when you go back and rewatch the game, you start to see just these incredibly special flashes. I waited like a whole day to take the emotions out of it, to be like, am I just saying something that's coming like from an emotional response? But this dude can play at a very, very high level. Just like you had all said, I think he needs a coaching staff that's going to help him out a little bit, and he needs players around him that need to make plays and help him too, because the guy is playing his ass off, and I've seen him make a lot of jumps since week one. Do me a favor, go watch yesterday's game, even in that horrendous first half, and go watch the first game against Seattle. Not even the same person. It's crazy. So, I'm optimistic in that front for sure.
Love it. Jeremy, your thoughts?
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, that's what Bo does. That's what he did. Every time he has a challenge, there's an adjustment period. He learns, and then he ends up thriving. So you just got to be patient. And here's the thing: Bo is unfairly being judged on the last 9 years of this franchise quarterback situation, and people are out of patience. But like, he's 6 games in. 6 games. If this was 2016 and we were 6 games in with the rookie quarterback and he was looking like this, everybody would be like so excited by like the future. Oh my gosh, we got a guy for the long term. Now it's like, we're not winning. If we lost this game, it's just panic. And that just drives me nuts. So that's the thing with Bo Nix. Like, let's just have some perspective a little bit. The other thing, this team, since it's a young team, they have 2 of the games that they've lost have been at home. They went on the road back-to-back weeks, got wins. This team might be a better, more focused team on the road. And that happens sometimes with young teams because there's nothing else going on but football. So I'm hopeful that this is a business trip and they're not eating beignets and doing whatever they're doing the night before, but I could see us being a lot more focused on the road for whatever reason, sometimes that's counter thought to what you would think, but
yeah,
at home, everybody wants tickets. Everybody wants this, everyone wants that. My wife's asking, there's just a million distractions. On the road, there's not any really, unless you're an idiot and you go do something silly, but so I'm optimistic that this team will right the ship on the road this week.
Wow. Love that perspective. I'm just glad hopefully we can be on talking Thursday after a win. Let's see this team bounce back. I have full expectation that Sean Payton's going to have these dudes locked in for this game. No doubt about it, maybe even to the detriment of failing to be ready for this Chargers game in retrospect. So, guys, really do appreciate it. Thank you to everybody in the comments, Atomic, Paul, Endo, Octavio, Sherry, Jay. Like we had a ton of people in here. Thank you so much. You guys make this even more fun having you guys as part of the conversation. So before we wrap up, Mark, anything coming up that we need to keep an eye out for before Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, always fun stuff to keep an eye out for. You know, we're really going to dive into just some more of the kind of analysis from, you know, the film when I break it down. Really look into the New Orleans Saints a lot as well, and yeah, I mean, just it's gonna be a lot of Broncos, and we'll start putting out some content around the Avs and the Nuggets as well. The Avalanche look like they're broken, so we can vent about that in terms of the way that they've looked in these 3 games. But the Nuggets are getting started as well, so super excited. But yeah, we're gonna kind of give a midseason report card overall and discuss discuss what to look ahead for these Broncos. So check it out if you guys haven't already. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow breaking down grades, statistics, all of that, and maybe try and get a film room in here before the game on Thursday. So, guys, if you could do us a favor, please like and subscribe to both channels, to Marky Sports in the description of my video, as well as David Talks Broncos for your daily Broncos content. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening and rest of your day. As always, y'all, go Broncos.
Go Broncos, baby. Peace out.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. Jeremy, once we started